Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, The Strategic Value of Transparency for Smaller Cities and Counties, presented by Socata. We understand that your time is valuable, and we're glad to have you with us. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Our presenter will be available at the end of the presentation to answer any questions. Please feel free to submit questions at any time using the Q&A feature in the webinar console. We also encourage you to share your thoughts throughout today's event using the Twitter widget, also within the console, and the hashtag #OpenBudget. Also, please give us any feedback you may have about the presentation using the survey widget, which is also located within your console. We've also made available to you several resources for you to download that can further your education on the matter. You can find them in the Resource Center. Lastly, this session is being recorded. You will receive a link to the archived recording within the next 24 hours so that you may access it again in the future. Now I'd like to introduce you to Almy, Account Manager at Socata.
Thank you, Jenny. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Again, my name is Almy Borromeo. I am the Account Manager here at Socata, working closely with cities and counties across the U.S. and really helping them navigate through the process of open data and assisting in developing a mature and dynamic platform. Also with us today is Wayne Lowry, Finance Director and Treasurer for Deschutes County, Oregon. He does bring over 30 years of local government finance and accounting experience. Now, prior to joining Deschutes County, he did serve as the CFO for Sherwood School District, where he helped guide the district through some of the most challenging economic times in recent history. He has also held a CFO position for Washington County, Oregon, where he managed a $350 million debt and treasury portfolio. And it goes without saying, Wayne's all about the numbers and results. Now, today we are here to talk about strategic value for transparency for smaller cities and counties, and how we help enable municipalities to provide financial information to their constituents in an easily understood format with two goals in mind. Number one is empower the public to understand the flow of money, and second, to deliver a turnkey experience for our customers. So giving you insight on what's going on across your organization from a financial standpoint, giving you access to information that can make your job more efficient, and how you deliver data internally and externally. Now, before we begin, I'd like to just kind of give those who are not familiar with Socata an overview of who we are. So we are headquartered in Seattle, Washington, as a SaaS company with offices in DC, Washington, D.C., and the UK. We've partnered up with public sector organizations across the globe and have established ourselves as the world leader in open data, government performance management, and improving the delivery of financial data. You know, Socata is really focused around democratizing access to data. So that's data to help with citizen engagement. A more informed citizen is a more engaged citizen. You give them the resource and they will interact, and give them access and it will drive them to engage. We also help around using data to drive civic innovation. So when your citizens engage with this data, they get access to quality of life info, and you'll see developers, entrepreneurs, small business owners, innovate on top of this data. And lastly, empowering agencies to make data-driven decisions. Now that you have an idea of who Socata is, we'd like to get acquainted with all of you and just ask a quick question, which should pop up on your screen right now. And it'll only take a couple seconds, and the question is, does your organization currently share budget information via the internet for citizen education and engagement? So we'll give folks a couple seconds here. Wow, you guys are doing pretty good there, 82%. Thank you. And so, as mentioned earlier, we do have Wayne Lowry from Deschutes County as our guest for today's webinar. Wayne, thank you so much for taking the time to spend some time with us today to share your story and provide folks guidance around who want to engage and educate their constituents around budget information.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Yes, yes. Now, sometimes policies, bills, initiatives play a crucial role in a municipality's decision to move forward with implementing a transparency platform of sorts. But this was not the case for Deschutes County. Can you share with us what led you to Socata and your vision around open budget?
Sure. So Deschutes County does what most other governments do, and that's produce their budget through a lengthy process, an enormous document full of lots of great information, and then we post it out on the internet in PDF form, and it kind of sits there. And we don't get a lot of hits on that. It's a difficult document to look through, even though it's got some great information in it. We were contacted a year or so ago from a couple of companies that said, hey, you know, we have this tool that you might be interested in, and it helps display your budget information in a more useful fashion. And so, you know, as you said, we didn't really have an initiative to increase transparency or anything like that. What we really thought was, you know, let's try one of these tools and see if we can generate some interest in our financial data. And so we ended up with Socata and have gone through the process, and we're about to go live probably this week or early next week with that tool on our website.
Awesome. That's very exciting, and we look forward to it going live. Now, in regards to just this access to the financial data, how do you see that impacting your community in terms of you know, that data access? You mentioned earlier it's a PDF that you put out there. How do you feel having a tool like this online impacts your community in terms of access to that data?
Well, citizens, you know, everybody's adept at internet these days. I know my kids spend an awful lot of time on the internet playing games and things. So we suspect there are lots of citizens that if they could get to some data easily and consume it easily without turning pages, without looking through documents and indexes and things like that, that they might be more interested in getting their questions answered about where their tax dollars are going and what programs they're benefiting from, and you know, really what the county is out to do in their lives. And so we're hoping that this tool provides some access, ease of access that citizens just haven't enjoyed before.
Awesome. And you know, aside from seeing how things pan out over the next year, are there specific actions you are hoping to influence, whether it be within the community or internally with other departments and staff members?
Well, staff generally get their budget information from our financial system, so we don't expect staff to benefit greatly from this tool. However, some staff that just want to understand the government they work for better would certainly find this useful, like citizens will, and will be able to understand more quickly the layout of the government and what services it provides and how it's paid for. And tell me the rest of your question again.
Oh, it's just really, how do you see this, how do you see it being utilized? As we mentioned earlier, I mean, the process of government budgeting in itself is a complex, thing, and for a person not in a finance role, I mean, it's more likely that, looking through that PDF for 400 pages and having to make sense of it, I mean, it is, it can get confusing. And so just wanted to get your thoughts around how you see it benefiting your citizens, maybe talk about, the engagement piece of things. If you looking at it from, okay, I have a question as a citizen, seeing how that tool can help them find the answer they need, or having it be a much easier process, whether it's an internal process of having to answer these questions that come in.
Well, as most people, at least here in Oregon, know that do the sort of work that I and many others do in local government, it's awfully hard, given our statutory budget process, to get citizens to come to budget committee meetings. They just don't see any value in it because it's complicated and it's kind of perfunctory in a lot of ways. We're hoping that having this tool out there for citizens will generate some interest and perhaps have citizens actually show up at our public meetings and engage in the process and have their thoughts known on how their tax dollars and other fee revenues and so forth get spent and what services get provided. And we don't know exactly what citizens need. We haven't polled folks. As I said, this is not an initiative necessarily of the county, but we're very interested in seeing how much attention this website gets once we release this. And we're hoping that more citizens show up and engage in various financial conversations through the process. And there are public meetings throughout the process, and we advertise those like we're supposed to, but we're hoping that this might generate some interest and actually have some citizens participate. As far as getting questions answered, I'm hoping that citizens will call me while they're on this website and say, hey, what's this thing all about right here? Why is the DA spending money like this on this contract? And those are kind of the questions that no one would think to ask because it's buried so deep in our document. And so we're kind of hoping that this generates questions and then interaction with citizens to get answers.
For sure. And, you guys are being innovative and on the right path. Like I mentioned earlier, empowering your citizens to gain access to this data, because as soon as you unleash it to them, they will take it, they will run with it, and they will, whether it's innovating or, engaging directly with you. Since you put that out there, Wayne, it's definitely a great start. Now, as you look at the landscape for government, how do you see just financial data access and transparency playing into the daily process of an organization?
Well, customer service is something that all local governments need to do a great job of to convince citizens that, when they come to the counter or they call on a phone, they're going to get assistance, they're going to get help, they're not going to get passed around people and then a voicemail.
Yeah.
And in a sense, this putting financial data out in a form where people can get to it, we see that as sort of an extension of our customer service. So the transparency angle, I think, gives citizens another reason to be confident in their government and the services it provides, because we're making the information available. We're making an investment here to produce our information in a format that's consumable.
Sure, thank you. Now, looking at where government is today, I mean, what are some of the steps you would encourage or see government taking today to help with this process? I mean,
Well,
your situation is unique, like I mentioned earlier. I mean, it was something that you guys just acted upon yourselves with no initiatives or mandates or anything like that. So, yeah, I just wanted to see what steps you would offer and encourage other folks.
Well, I think every finance director out there wants, you spend 6 months and countless hours and energy to produce a budget document, and then you throw it out there on the internet or set it on a shelf, and it just sort of sits there. And this tool to us is a way to have people actually appreciate the work that gets done and the investment that's made to produce the document in the first place, and the information. It makes it accessible and usable and relevant. And you think about CAFRs and budgets, and a lot of times we meet all the requirements and we do everything really well, but it doesn't really meet citizens' needs very well. And I think that's kind of the next step. And so there's some other things too. I don't think putting your data out there is the only thing you can do. There are lots of other things to engage citizens. Here at the county, we have a thing called County College, and I've seen it at other cities and counties where you get a group of citizens together and you run them through a 10-week course on all the services that the city provides, and you have speakers from departments talk about the work they do and where they get funded and all of that. This, to me, is one of those kinds of efforts, and probably taken together with that sort of interaction plus a bunch of other things we haven't thought of yet. I think as a package, this helps us move in the direction of creating more useful information and a more engaged voter or citizen.
Sounds good. Now, do you envision using this tool in the 2016 budget planning process?
Well, we haven't gotten that far. If there's a way to put out, say, our proposed budget before we go into the budget committee process, that might make some sense, and that would be a way to advertise, in a sense, what we're proposing. And that might draw some folks into our budget process. So if that's, we're just now putting our budget calendar together, and if there's a way to use the tool that way, we'd certainly consider that and look at it.
For sure, and I can help you out with that process. Now, we are getting close to, like you mentioned earlier, going live with your application. How are you alerting citizens or the media about the launch of this tool? Is it something that you will market internally, and just talk about how you're going to promote it?
Yeah, I think we had a work session with our board last week, and the press was there, and they saw the demo. Everybody thought it was a really great tool and produced some really great accessible information. So I expect to work with the local news media here and issue a press release of sorts. We'll also certainly put that as a headliner on our website, and do everything we can to direct citizens to that. I think we have a number of boards and committees, citizens that are already more engaged than the general population, that we would send this out to and say, hey, we have this new tool, go take a look at it, give us some feedback, tell us what you think. and tell your friends, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Word of mouth is always great. I'd like to take a quick pause here for another question to put out for the audience, and that is, what financial information does your organization share? What financial information does your organization share via the internet with its citizens? And then you may need to scroll down a little bit to get to the full list, and then just hit submit there at the end. We'll give folks a couple more seconds. And then while we're waiting for that, then Wayne, how do you see, when we're looking at specific to just the education piece and kind of the idea and the notion around self-service, how do you see this impacting the county in the process of, I know we talked about it earlier, but if you can expand a little bit more around answering questions, whether them calling you directly or even the decreasing FOIA requests, and really talking about how, using this tool to really educate your citizens, and again, going back to giving them access to that data.
One of the most appealing parts of this tool is the information side related to capital projects. You can actually see where the projects are, how much they are, and see a narrative explanation of what this project's all about. And there's also the ability for us to update that information as that project progresses. And I think that's information citizens have never really had access to at all. So that's one piece. On the self-service side, I think we'd like our website to be a place where a citizen can go and get answers to all their questions. And so, if it might be paying their dog license, it might be paying their property tax bill, it might be making an appointment with someone on the staff for some reason, it might be finding out what they need to get a permit for, and it might be to know more about their government's financial structure. So we kind of see the self-service thing as maybe drawing a number of smaller pieces that we have in place and some that we'd like to put in place, and putting them all in a self-service center that kind of meets all the needs at once and gives citizens access to information as well as the ability to follow up with questions or appointments with staff or whatever it might be.
Cool, thank you. Now, do you, as an organization of your size, with the limited resources, can you share with us how you handled the implementation process of open budget in a project like this?
So we started working with Socata about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, and our budget manager looked at their information and their requirements for what data they needed, and was able to supply that data, and then kind of tweak the data here and there so that the presentation showed up in a more logical way, to make sure that everything is looks the way it ought to look out on this new tool's website. That process probably took us 30 to 40 hours, I would say. And this was the first time through, and so we expect, as we continue this into future years, we'll be building history into the tool, and we expect the upload process to be really simple and straightforward.
Very cool. Now, do you feel that, the I guess the data wrangling, that's one question that comes up often of, gathering that data, what that process was like, and was it fairly easy or fairly hard? Hopefully the first.
Well, it's, of course, thousands of lines of data, out of our financial system. And, we've been on the same financial system for about 12 years, and so we understand where everything is and how it's laid out. And so our budget manager is very adept at extracting data. And so it was not we didn't need IT to do it or anything. We were able to just do it and upload it and send it to Socata. And Socata folks, massage some things and work some things over, and we worked together over that 30 hours or so to get everything settled down and the way we wanted it. So we're pretty excited about moving forward.
Cool. Now, do you have a vision to add other data sets like expenditures, contracts, revenue over time?
All of those things we don't have on the table right now, but all of those things would fit really nicely into our self-service area of our website. And so I think all of that would make sense to look at. We currently, because of a state statute, do our put our expenditures out there, but they're not out there in an interactive way. They're merely a PDF list of expenditures each month. So we could do a lot better and make that information way more useful by making it more interactive.
Got it. And earlier on in our conversation, you had talked about, hopefully engaging more with your citizens. How will you measure the impact of open budget in terms of, are you indeed seeing the traffic? What are some of the things you are going to look at in terms of, success?
Well, I think we'll, as we roll this out to a bunch of our citizens who are already active on committees and so forth, boards and committees, we'll elicit their feedback and get thoughts from them about the usefulness of this data and how we might make it better. We'll certainly watch the website and see how many hits we have on this and so forth, and gather as much information from that as possible about who is looking at this. We have the chamber, we have a number of civic organizations that are partners with the county in delivering service, and those are another set of folks that we'll make sure know this is out there. And then, of course, general citizens, and again, we'd be watching the website for hits and other things, and we'll monitor the kinds of questions and phone calls we get as a result, hopefully.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and we've heard that from a lot of our customers, so good. Now, another question for you, Wayne, is do you find that contractors also peruse the budget data to look for potential bid opportunities? And if so, do you think that will result in more competition and better pricing?
I'm not sure how to answer that. It's a great question.
Okay.
We don't have a really mature purchasing process here at the county. It's sort of not centralized very well, and it's something that's on our list of things to make better. And this tool may lend itself to that. I suppose contractors could go out and look at all of our contract services and at least see how much we're spending on contracts. But as we, and so I guess that financial tool might be able to be used if we were out there listing our open contracts on our website as well. So those two things together might work together really well.
Got it. Now, speaking of websites, what does your IT staff look like? Do you have someone, dedicated to, whether it's the open budget application, the website, or just in general, the implementation of this type of technology?
We have a real robust IT division here at the county, and they're always excited about innovative things like this. And so we've gotten assistance by setting up this URL and this capability. And so yeah, we have lots of depth there, and I believe we're in the middle of revamping our whole website in a several-year project right now, and so this plays right into that really well.
Cool, very cool. And if there are any other questions from our audience, we will take them on right now. And then also, we do have one question, which should be popping up on your screen here, is would you like to see a demo of the Socata's Financial Transparency Suite? And what we'll do is we can get that scheduled on our calendars with you directly. And Wayne, before we end things here today, do you have any final last comments, advice, words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Well, I guess I'd just like to say that the Socata staff have been easy to work with and excited about helping us get this going. And I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. Anything we can do as government finance officials to get all the great work we do out in a form that people can see it and understand it, I think is beneficial to everyone. And so I would encourage folks to at least think about it. And you may not have an initiative going on, but this is maybe just a small step to kind of take the next step towards transparency and to make all the great information that we put together and spend our lives on, make it accessible to folks in an understandable way, and that's our entire goal here.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for taking the time out of your afternoon and spending time with us today. And with that, this is the end. Thank you.